Tavern, what is up? Tis I, your local tavern keeper, Tyler Randall. I need to come up with an intro that is, like this. It'll grab your attention. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can't hear me. Um, just letting you guys know that this is not sponsored in any way by anything that I show you, whether it be the Lagunitas Contents Under Fresher Fresh Hop IPA. Ooh, double dry hopped, I believe. 2021 one hitter, which means the four that I bought are probably the only four that I'm ever going to get. Because in this tavern, we drink. So let us drink. Click. If you can hear the thunder, it's because the nader's coming. All right. And by the way, if you want to come into my attire, this is not my jacket. This is Van Magruder's jacket. He just keeps leaving it at my house every time he comes. Oh, yeah, dude, just hold on to it for me. My Jeep is full. I love wearing it. It's actually not comfortable at all. It's very hot. So I've adorned it with all of the pins that I have collected over the years. This is a new one. Well, wrong side. Magic Sword. Great band. Go see them. Electro Metal. Good evening and salutations, Tavern mates. Welcome to the in-home studio of the Tavern. I know it's been intermittent at best in my broadcast. I've had a lot going on in my life. Chief amongst them having to go to court with my HOA over them allegedly misappropriating monies that were raised by veterans via charity. Who'd have thought a multi-million-dollar corporation that has several shells, that is literally only 3 people, just not keeping their word and stealing money from the common man. I mean, you couldn't write it. You couldn't make this stuff up. This is like an episode of The Good Lawyer over here where I live. Also recently became, I guess there's no other way to say it, a college dropout. I think the technical term is that I have withdrawn from my current enrollment in my quest for matriculation. I could no longer stand the politics of it, let's just say. When you're in biology and they're talking about, diversity and inclusion, it's kind of a red flag, especially at a university that used to be a private Christian university that is now for-profit, online as well as in residential, as they say. So without further ado, I know you saw me smoking on the back porch. I was enjoying a nice Rocky Patel Nicaraguan Reserve, and with Nicaraguan tobacco on my breath and the wee drum of Tennessee's finest whiskey. This is Nelson's Greenbrier Sour Mash, oldest whiskey in Tennessee, one of the first whiskeys to be bottled in a glass bottle and sold that way. It's fruit forward. I love it. A little spicy. Because we drink. So on to some news of the day. I personally, not sponsored, have I have a membership to the Epic Times. They are originally from Hong Kong and were booted for obvious reasons of, promoting freedom and all that other stuff, that China hates. So if we go to the Epic Times reporting today, and the screen transitions are going to be weird, so please just bear with me when you see the kaleidoscope upon your eyes. Bam! Screen share. Hopefully you can see this. CDC extends federal mask mandate. You heard that right. Even though the Russia-Ukraine war has taken your attention, they have extended the federal mask mandate. It says, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, has extended the federal mask mandate for transportation for 2 weeks, citing the small recent increase in COVID-19 cases. I wonder if they're going to go by percentages, actual cases, any actual data behind this. I don't know. It's because the Biden administration wants them to, I guess. It says the order, which was set to expire on April 18th, will remain in place until May 3rd. It's to let officials in the agency assess whether the BA2 virus subvariant drives a fresh wave of cases. We all know that that's going to be not the case because herd immunity has been reached and cases wane, as do deaths precipitously, no matter how they fudge the data, which, by the way, it turns out they've been doing the whole time. I don't know if you noticed, but a few weeks ago, they had to remove 25% of their cases for children because they wanted to lie to you and tell you that your kids were going to die of the coof while they're in school. It's bullshit. I go on. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican, said that in a statement that the latest extension is simply prolongs the misery that passengers and flight attendants are being forced to endure. So this is exactly what their means. They were about to abolish it. There was a movement, I think, it passed the Senate to abolish it on airplanes, right? So we were going to get rid of the mask mandate on airplanes, okay? And let me go back to just looking at me. Look at me. Look at me. It takes a second to switch over. There it goes. Now, putting the banner up. The ticker. Bam. Centers for Disease Control. There we go. So they want you to wear it on the airplane. Why? Because it's a form of control. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but when you're on a plane and you've had to wear the mask for a grueling 4, 6, 8 hours, wherever you're flying to, God help the people that are on the planes, transatlantic, transpacific. Your stewardesses are no longer there for your service. They're there. They're almost like jailers, like, you know, in a jail. In between sips, sir. In between sips, you're gonna have to pull that mask down. And I actually had one sit there and watch me. She was the first class lady, and I happen to be closest to first class. You know, with the curtain that's not really, you know, super private. You could see right through it. She's watched me drink. I actually was I was drinking Sweetwater because that's out of Georgia and it's a Delta hub. Took a sip. Delicious. And as I attempted to breathe in and savor the nose of the beer, she's like, mask up, please. Mask up, please. And it's very annoying, and I did not like her, and I really hope that she stubbed her toe later. But, I mean, this is like psychology 101 shit, okay? You talk about the Stanford prison experiments where they made some people guards and some people prisoners, and shocked to find out that when imbued with any kind of power, people go power mad. It's kind of insane. So, for those of you that are watching, not sponsored, I just happen to own many of these. I'm going to show you something super duper cool that you can buy for yourself that I personally use. Kaleidoscope. We're going to Fake Mask Worldwide. That's right. At fakemaskworldwide.com, you can buy, if you want to be belligerent like this dude, just the least compliant mask you can get. So as you can see, oh, look at this new. They have a new fake N95 mask. It's basically just a double layer of mesh. So not only can you breathe, but you're not going to fog your glasses up while you're, you know, watching that downloaded Netflix movie or reading a book. I personally have the double incognito mask and recently just got the fake surgical masks because, you know, you got to switch it up every once in a while. Let me show you this. So if we go to one of them, bam, we click on that. That's what I have, the double incognito. They make them adjustable and also an extra small. I got the regular ones because it just says face covering. It doesn't say that it has to be an N95. Otherwise, I would make them give me one, which they don't have. So if we click the picture here, they go everywhere from the offensive mask, which is barely anything, to the incognito, double incognito, and then double incognito adjustable. These things are awesome. They're like $10 a pop. I think it's like 17 for 2 of them. They ship discreetly in like a little envelope straight to your house. Super duper cool. I love them. So if you have to fly, as I am going to be coming up this month, I'll be exiting the country. I'm making a run for Mexico. I might just stay. It's going to be awesome. That's not true. It's a terrible place, except for the place I'm going. What I'm going to do is wear my fake mask on the entire trip because fuck them. That's why. What's up, Angelo? How has this video not been banned by now? 6 whole minutes. That's right, Angelo. This is my neighbor, Angelo. He's a really cool guy. Don't shame him. He's just because he associates with the likes of me. Super cool guy. I've had him on the stream before. We did the metal stream, which actually I got a lot of feedback on after it had been on the internet.com for a while. People going back and watching, zipping through and getting a taste of some of the music that we enjoy and share. Because you know why? In order to people, the biggest problem today is culture, right? Is the culture that we live in. And we need to create good culture otherwise we're just going to complain about the dominant culture. And the dominant culture now happens to be pop culture, which is to say fleeting and has no value whatsoever. All right. I've ranted on that enough. I think I'm going to kick off this ticker here. Bam. We're going to the next one. What is our next one? So, oh yeah. Full disclosure, everybody. I have been registered as a Republican here in the county that I live in Tennessee. Now, what I will say is when I went to register as a Republican, I think it was last year, it was very weird. They were like, are you in good standing with the Republican Party? And I said, whatever do you mean, kind Republican man? And he was like, well, there's a list of rules. And there is a lengthy list of rules and bylaws that you have to abide by in order to be in the Republican Party in my county. And one of them is that you have to have voted in a primary and an election, or two primaries or two elections, one or the other. But one of them I do believe has to be a primary, and you had to have done it as a Republican. Now, in the year of 2016, I registered as a Democrat and wrote in Donald Trump as the candidate for president. I thought it was hilarious, and because I thought it would just be super funny if one person wrote in Donald Trump as a Democrat, because it's funny. It's a joke, okay? And that being said, I was not in good standing. I had to have several people vouch for me, okay? Now, me being what I thought was a Republican, because I'm very conservative, I thought that meant that they would be totally fine with it. Like, oh, we get it. Yeah, you're just trolling. They are not cool with it. They were like very suspicious. Obviously, they thought it was maybe a hippie or something. I don't know. It had something to do with the way I dress. But they were suspicious right off the bat, and they were very gatekeepy. And I talked to one of the guys who used to be the chair. Super, super, super cool guy. Turns out he was a professor in political science, and I kept asking him very specific questions about, why not Trump, and why is conservatism winning? And he was like, listen, it's not about conservatives, and it's not about liberal. It's about getting Republicans elected. And I was like, word? What are you talking about? And he simply just kept saying it's about electability. That rolls us right in to this next part. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you once again. I'm going to put the ticker on. I'm going to say everything that I do on the screen so that I don't mess it up. All right, kaleidoscope mode. Bam. All right, McConnell warns. This is Epic Times reporting. McConnell warns GOP of nominating unacceptable candidates for midterms. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, warned that Republican voters on April 12th of slipping up chances of retaking the Senate in November midterms if unacceptable, in quotes, candidates win their primaries. I'm going to try to do a Mitch McConnell voice because I think it's hilarious. The atmosphere for Republicans is better than it was in 1994, McConnell told members of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce at a Tuesday event, referencing the success in the 1994 U.S. midterm elections. It was when Republicans won control of both the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate for the first time in 40 years. Yet flawed candidates can still screw this up, McConnell says. It's actually possible, and we've had some experiences with this in the past. Blah, 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 blah. It just keeps going on because, they have to fill it out with word count and everything like that. But what it basically boils down to is this ass right here, this turtle-faced asshole, is telling you that if you, hold on, kaleidoscope, we're coming back, don't worry about it, boom. He's telling you that if you vote for a undesirable or a unpredictable or a crazy, a rebel, a insurrectionist, if you will, candidate, it can screw up the Republicans' chances of winning. So he's telling you exactly what I just told you. It's about electability. Oh, we just need to have the control, even though we didn't do dick with it in 2016 to 2020. They had the majority. They could have done all of the things that Donald Trump wanted to do that objectively were good for the country. I know I say objectively, even though some people would say you should say objectively. It's kind of like using literally and figuratively. No, I mean objectively. I mean closing the border was a good thing, as you can see. It's a bad thing when they open it. The best thing that this administration, the Biden administration, has done is shown you how fucking terrible their policies are. 100%. Not a single one has done one good thing for you. Printing trillions of dollars and then feigning ignorance when inflation shows up, bad thing. Opening the border to the point where just rapists, murderers, thieves, drug dealers are coming across the border. I'm not characterizing all of them like that, but you know what? A lot of them are economic migrants, and they're going to drive down wages wherever they go. And they're not just coming over and organically making their way, waiting on their court cases, which, by the way, I think the number is somewhere in the 70s or 80s of 80% don't show up for the court case. They disappear. They can still get benefits even if they don't go to the court case. Some of them, I don't know if you saw this in the news, were using arrest warrants as proof of identification so that they could come into the country and then be bussed and flown and dispersed around the country. Some right here in Tennessee. And that's why Governor Abbott has been in Texas. Shout out Texas. I don't agree with everything Abbott does, but I will say that busing them up to D.C. it's a good for scoring political points, but in the long run, you see how that's kind of bad, right? We're like, we sent him up to D.C. and D.C.'s like, yeah, we don't give a shit. They're going to fill up the homeless shelters. We're going to pay for them to stay in hotels. They're going to run up tabs, and they're going to drive down wages, and they're going to do exactly what they've been doing this whole time. Immigration should be a merit-based thing, okay? If you're waiting in line, you should wait in line. If I wanted to go to, let's say, Syria, and I just jumped the border, what do you think they'd do to me? They'd probably rape me before they killed me, honestly, because look, I'm soft. I'm soft. I'm chubby. I'm white. I mean, they know that they're gonna clap them cheeks before they chop my head off. That's just the truth, 100%, because that's how they roll. So we are the most welcoming country in the world, probably next to like Canada. And look how bad it is up there. Oh, look how bad it is in New York. Shit. I mean, they're just simply everywhere. And it's not a racist thing to say, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes on letting illiterate and disease-ridden and crime-prone people into the country. It's just not a good idea. I don't know who thinks it is, but it's not. And that's why these unacceptable and rebellious and dangerous candidates are the people you should vote for. And that's why I personally have just recently joined a constitutional caucus here in my county. Okay. So I actually have my first meeting with them on Saturday. One of my neighbors got me to join it. We both went to the same GOP meeting, by the way. And she was like, this is bullshit. And she went and I don't know if she started it, but she is running this caucus. She's like, no. Constitutionalists, they have to be Christians. They have to be conservatives. Boom. That's all you need to get in. And you would be shocked at how few Republicans are any of those things. Okay. It's sad and appalling. I said enough about the stupid turtle man because he's an asshole, and God willing, he will get myocarditis from the shots and boosters that he keeps getting. Anyway, so let's hide that. And, since I've just damned myself for YouTube and Facebook to get banned forever, which, by the way, I think I'm on my 4th Facebook. Recently just got Twitter caught up with me finally. I'm on my 4th or 5th Twitter profile for evading a permanent ban. They're like, hey, we banned you once forever. You're not allowed to evade the ban, you plebe. You're not allowed to tell people what you think on the internet. Recently, Instagram, done. No longer on Instagram. They nuked that one today. So I have a new Instagram. It's at Rev, R-E-V _ Tyler Randall, Tyler Randall. Go ahead, send me that freaking like. I can't follow too many people. It's my first day on, and they're like, you can't follow more than 6 people a day. And it's like, okay, whatever. I'm not a bot. I swear to God, I'm not a bot. But speaking of dangerous, well, you know what? Let's have a drink first. Shall we, lads? A wee drum. A wee sip of a wee drum. Delicious. By the way, I've been thinking about it. If I ever opened up a tavern, I would call it the Dram and Drum. I think that's a good name. The Dram and Drum just rolls off the tongue. That was a rhyme. And yes, it is a crime. That was terrible. So, ticker, click, show it. Going to the kaleidoscope. One more time. Boom. Also, epic times. 20 federal assets embedded in Capitol on January 6th, court filing says. So, it says at least 20 FBI and Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms. Pause. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That should be a fucking convenience store, not a federal agency. None of those things are illegal. Alcohol is not illegal. Tobacco is not illegal. Firearms is not illegal. Why the hell are we letting these yahoos regulate anything we do? That's just my personal opinion, and also the correct one. If you think otherwise, you are uneducated. Anyway, at least 20 FBI and Bureau of ATF firearms. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. I'm so mad. 20 FBI and ATF assets were embedded around the Capitol on January 6th, and some defense attorney wrote in a filing. So the disclosure was made in a motion seeking to dismiss seditious conspiracy and obstruction charges against the 10 Oath Keepers defendants, one of the most prominent January 6th criminal cases. Now, if you remember, the Oath Keepers are the ones that they charged like a year and a half later with sedition because in their hotel room, they left their personal firearms. Think about that for a second. You're telling me that the terrorist group Oath Keepers, who actually have never committed a crime and actually, never been associated with any kind of terrorism whatsoever, other than they're just bad optics for the Biden administration. These people came to DC and then legally and lawfully kept their personal firearms locked and safe in the motel room they were staying at, went to January 6th, protested, no evidence of wrongdoing, whether they did or not, I can't say, but let's just assume that all of them were just like, yeah, fuck, yeah, this is bullshit, fuck Biden. And then they went back and took their guns and went home and killed nobody, because the only person that was killed that day was Ashley Babbitt, unarmed woman, veteran, killed for no reason, shot in the head while her hands were down, and that guy went free. Why are those guys the terrorists again? Please tell me. Enlighten me with your oh so mighty opinions. The people that are going to have opinions against mine don't watch this, and also they would never try to make an argument, because they're just yes sheep. They just go, yeah, okay, please, just as long as my life is comfortable, and just don't take away my Apple iPhone, and don't take away, as long as my Wi-Fi is working, and as long as I don't lose my job. As long as I don't lose my job, I don't give a shit how much freedom they take away from us. Wow, I'm in an America mood right now. I am in a nationalist mood. Woo! I really want, the American spirit of freedom to reign again. It's just so sad. It's just so sad how many people are just like, well, that's really sad about those people that, are just in solitary confinement for 2 years. Oh, I really don't like it. Oh, you don't like it? Maybe say something about it. Get your Facebook taken away. Get your Instagram taken away. Oh, but that would be bad, because then I can't see the cat videos or what my person that I've known since middle school, but we don't talk, says about stuff. Fuck it. People that want to stay in touch with you will stay in touch with you one way or the other. You got a cell phone, you got an email account. But it turns out that they're reading all that shit too. Project Veritas came out with the thing. Sorry, I'm going to keep reading this because my rants will go. They will go. 20 FBI assets around the Capitol on January 6th. We're at a footnote on page 6 of the motion, right? That's their it's like it's not like page 6 in a newspaper. It's page 6 of a motion that they're like, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, we had provocateurs in the crowd that were telling people, we need to go to their Capitol. We need to go to their Capitol. Yeah, throw a bottle at that guy. Whatever, man. This is all bullshit. Oh, the kaleidoscope. I'm coming back. Don't worry. Wait for it. Bam, we're back. Okay. That's transition is really slow. I wish there was a way to do it like picture in picture, but I cannot. So we're going to hide that for now. Been talking for 22 minutes. Very fast, very fast. Lost all my viewers right away. COVID, people were like, yeah, fuck COVID. Started talking about January 6th. Boom, everybody stopped watching immediately. Oh, one more back. We got one person watching. It's just, if the January 6th protesters, not the Antifa that were there, and not the ATF that was there, not the FBI that was there, not all the bad actors that were mixing in the soup because it was advantageous to them. What if the regular people, like the lady from Alaska, whose laptop was taken by the FBI because they thought she was somebody that was in the crowd, and she was like nowhere near the Capitol steps, or the guy that I can't remember his name, dude. I forget names like crazy. Even the people I work with, I'm like, hey, what's your? There was a guy who had a permit. He's the only person that had a permit to protest on January 6th. He was in Section 8, which is like a mile from the Capitol steps, and it was all barricaded off. This guy's getting freaking flack for being there on January 6th. I'm going to keep saying January 6th so it buries this down in the algorithm so nobody will watch it January 6th. If the January 6th thing was so bad, then how come there literally have only been 10 charges of sedition a year after the fact on no evidence of said sedition whatsoever? Not a single one of them has been proven to do anything violent. Not a single one of them has been proven to do. It's just like the FBI bungled the freaking Whitmer plot, okay? 10 years ago, we had Judge, I can't say his name, he's on Fox News sometimes, Nat Pataliato, Judge Nat, they call him, NAP. He was saying that 10 years ago, he was like, hey, the FBI, all the people that they catch nowadays, it's all just, they were just assets that came and said, hey, I have a bomb. Do you want to help me blow something up? Aha, gotcha. It's all entrapment. Yeah. And after studying Homeland Security intensely for 2 years, I can tell you, they have no success stories. There's zero success stories. All their success stories are either fraudulent, double reporting from local authorities, or just completely fabricated entrapment whatsoever. So the government, the Governor Whitmer plot is like got 12 FBI agents and 3 regular dudes. And the 3 regular dudes are like, we don't want to do this. And they're like, no, just show up. You'll just be my backup. You just show up. And they're like, just bring the money. And then they didn't bring the money, and then they arrested him anyway because they were supposed to buy explosives to kidnap Governor Whitmer. It makes no sense. I know I'm beating the drum. So, next one. This one's going to be another one that's going to get it buried in the algorithm, okay? We are going to go to Kaleidoscope one last time. One more time. Boom. Epic Times reports. I'm going to show you the top. Childhood transgender treatments. They create lifelong patients, Alabama doctor says. Amid a groundswell of debate over the rationality of minors receiving medical treatment to change their genders, one Alabama physician is speaking out about the long-term effects of pharmaceutical and surgical alterations and how they can make a child a lifelong patient. Very, very odd. Governor Kay Ivey in Alabama signed a bill into law on April 8th stating that children should be protected from the radical life-altering drugs and surgeries when they are such a vulnerable stage in life. Effectively, they're making it so that when you can't get any surgeries or hormone therapies until you're 19 years old. Fair, I think, is fair. Let's get down to the crux of this. The booming business of gender clinics. It used to be that only 0.02% of all children had cross-sex self-identification, Lampert said. That's the doctor. And of those few children, over 80% were boys. In the past 7 years, there have been a 5,000% increase in the diagnosis of gender dysphoria. And now over 60% of new diagnoses are adolescents or young adult females, he said. Now, if you think about it, why would there be more diagnoses? Why? Because there's drugs to be peddled. Every single hedge fund dude is pumping money into hormones, into blockers, into surgeries. They're pumping money into this because they know it's going to be a lifelong thing. You need to take it forever, or otherwise you stop. It stops. Okay. I go on quoting. Previously, treatment involved family and individual cognitive therapy, he said, which resulted in 92% success rate. By the way, success rate means they were like, oh, I was just confused. I had a hard childhood. Something bad happened to me. I had some trauma. I had some dysphoria. I went and talked about it, got over it, and now I'm happy with it. Not to mention, I'm going to come back to this. Kaleidoscope over, coming back. Not to mention the suicide rate that remains higher than the national average, even after pre-op and post-op. Suicide attempted rate is the same. It's higher than people in Auschwitz, okay? Whether it doesn't matter what your opinion on transgenderism is, the truth is, the objective facts are they are diagnosing it at a staggeringly high rate so that they can pump your kids full of these drugs and get them surgeries that the overwhelming majority of them will regret, and they will not be able to turn back. And when you mutilate your genitalia to the point where, if you're a male, mutilate it to a point where it's basically a non-functioning vagina, you can't go back from that ever. It's impossible. At least now. They might have the freaking swip-swap surgery done in like the next 100 years. They might be able to pop it on, pop it off. It's not the point. The point is it's kids. Where do you think the agreeableness of this is coming from? Oh yeah, your schools. It doesn't matter if you live in a red state or a blue state or a red county. You live even in Middle Tennessee, where you think it's the bumpkin, and they just vote Republican because they want guns and they're racist because you're an idiot. Even this is being taught in our schools over here. And that's why you need to join a constitutionalist conservative caucus of your GOP, or God forbid, of your Democrat Party. Even Bill Maher is abandoning the fucking party at this point. Even he's going on Joe Rogan and saying, all this shit is crazy. You guys are taking positions that are they're unfathomable. It would have been unfathomable 10 years ago, 5 years ago even. And when Dennis Prager just 3 years ago was on Bill Maher's show and said, oh, men can menstruate. This is crazy. Why are you saying this? And they laughed at him. The fucking audience laughed at him and said, nobody's saying it. Bill Maher was like, that's a fringe position. Now Jen Psaki is saying it at the fucking podium. What? You know what? In the description of this, I said the rant will take us where it leads. The rant will take us where it leads. And it has. Very much so. We've been going for just at 30 minutes right now. I'm only pointing it out because I can really get to going. And I think it's time to take a sip, okay? I need to take a pause, take a sip, because I will rant you into oblivion. Oh, look at this beautiful, this beautiful IPA. Because this is a tavern, you see. And in the tavern, we speak truth. In the tavern, we make culture. In the tavern, we discuss. I don't have any comments right now. Just my boy Angelo's awake, probably because everybody in the area is hunkered down watching the Weather Channel or Fox News for some fucking reason. I enjoy Tucker sometimes. I'll watch his openings, and if it's lackluster, I won't watch it. I didn't really get into the whole Russia-Ukraine thing because it's a farce. It's manufactured. For the most part, it's fake. I'm not saying the invasion's fake, obviously. They really blew up the buildings. What I'm saying is it actually is all part of the Great Reset, and I know that's a trigger word. It's going to scare some of you. Let me elaborate. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is just the unaltered truth that you cannot rebut. The fact is that the World Economic Forum wants to radically change the world. They want a global government. They might let you have a government, but really the person that tells the government what to, it's like the EU. They have unelected people in charge of the EU. If you don't know what the EU is, it's the European Union. The thing that Britain has been trying to get out of and still really isn't all the way out of for years now. When you have the European Union, you have a bunch of unelected bureaucrats that sit in Brussels and tell the EU how to govern. And the EU then goes and tells individual countries how to govern. They have no sovereignty. If they pass a law that they do not like, the European Union will rise up and tell them, no, you will not do it like this. You will do it like this. They even have EU MPs, members of parliament. If you don't know the colloquialism, MPs, member of parliament. They have an EU parliament, and then they have their country's parliament. What's the fucking point? That's what they want to do. That's the fucking starter version. So the Ukraine-Russia dispute, which has been going on for decades, if not almost a century, between Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine have been arguing over the same pieces of land forever. Okay. If you don't know anything about what happened during the color revolutions in 2014, you should just shut up and just think that everything they say about the war is fake, unless you do some reading. Because the truth is, they need a reason. When I say they, I mean the collectivist elites. And it's hard to say who or what. We're seeing a new kind of fascism that we have never seen before. And it's hard to call it fascism because that was uniquely nationalistic to Italy, right? Giovanni Gentile, right? The fascisti. He wrote about how there is a state, and this nothing above the state, everybody for the state, but under it. Okay. In that same collectivist vein, Lenin and Trotsky came up with, and from Marx came about communism, right? It's still collectivist, but there's no state. There is only the party and the people, and everybody's in the party, but everybody's under the party. They just use different words and different means, right? So at least under Italian fascism, you still had a little bit of autonomy in business and things like that. But at the end of the day, the state controlled exactly what you were going to do with violence, right? So you got away with a lot more. You had a little bit more of a free market. But I digress. Today, the type of fascism we're seeing, you just have to call it collectivism. You call it communism, and people say you're a boomer. You're just calling everything communism. That's like that's not true. Not everything's communism, but it is a type of collectivist authoritarianism, and that's a mouthful. So we need to come up with a tag for it. So I mean, the pedophile elite comes to mind because it turns out like 80% of the people in it are pedophiles. It's fucking weird. Bill Gates, okay. Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta. Whether they actually did the deeds themselves or facilitated them, they're all culpable. And it's documented. And by the way, where's that list again? Yeah, what happened to Ghislaine Maxwell? What happened to her? She tried to get her conviction overturned recently because a juror said, yeah, I was sexually abused. And they were like, oh, mistrial. Well, too late. You already got convicted. Oh, by the way, we're not going to release the names. That's what everybody really wanted. We're not going to release the names, though. That's a separate point. The point is, they're coming for your freedom, just like in Canada. I don't know if you've been looking to our neighbors to the north. They are in full authoritarian mode right now. Since the trucker convoy, which you probably heard nothing about because you only watch CNN and Fox News, during the trucker convoy, they passed a law saying anybody that got any money that was crowdfunded from anywhere else, we're going to fold that into our terrorism funding law. So if you were in Iowa and you gave them $20 and said, hey, here's some gas money because it's cold as fuck up there. Oh, yeah, you're funding terrorism, according to Canada, according to Justin Trudeau, really, not Canada, but according to Justin Trudeau, who is the Prime Minister of Canada and the son of Cuban dictator. What's his name? Fidel Castro. That's right. His mom fucked Castro It's a fact. They look exactly identically alike. That's just the truth. Prove me wrong. You can't. That might be the only actual joke I've said. The truth is, so Canada, not only did they do that, but they're also cracking down on the media. There's only one media outlet in Canada right now that did not get the gilded. They now they have a state license for journalism, and you have to. And there's a secret board of 5 people, and this is all true. You can look it up. A secret board of 5 people that look at about 100 articles that you've written in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and they decide whether or not you are news or whether you are journalists. Well, Rebel News didn't get their license. Why? Because they actually did on the ground reporting at the truckers rally and have been railing against Justin Trudeau since forever, since he came into office, because he's done shady dealings. You know why? Because at the end of his last term before he got elected, he made a special fund release to the media in totaling $61 million. 61 or 161? Doesn't matter. He gave millions of dollars to all media outlets in Canada. Well, guess what? All those people got licenses, not Rebel News, because Rebel News didn't take the money. Only the people that took the money got their licenses. Isn't that weird? Pay to play? Hillary Clinton, ever heard of it? Took a page right out of her book. Okay. John Podesta, ever heard of him? I said his name twice already. Getting downgraded as we speak. I digress again. But yeah, so now they have state licensed media outlets, and if you're not, you don't get to go and to any of the any state, any local, any provincial newsworthy places. You don't have a press pass. You don't get to go. You can't report on the government functionally. And they're working with Facebook to downgrade your posts in Canada. So Justin Trudeau has basically said, I have bought and paid for the media brazenly, openly, not a secret. You can see the transactions happening if you just keep up to speed on the fucking news. If you watched Rebel Media, it's like they say, look, here's the payment, here's the license. Here's the payment, here's the license. It is irrevocably true. And no matter how much I yell into this internet camera, nobody's going to listen. That's not the point, because nobody's watching. I can tell. I can see who's watching and who's not. That's not the point. The point is that they only dream of that here in America. Biden only wishes he could buy and pay for the media. They're just de facto bought and paid for. Just because, like, if you've noticed, Jen Psaki's like, and Biden's like, well, they should crack down more. We're not going to tell them to. But if they did, it'd be the best thing for the country. They did. They're like, well, Facebook's a private company. They can do whatever the fuck they want, right? Not if it's what the government tells them to do is illegal and wrong. How is that not government overreach? Because in this instance, the technology has surpassed the law. Okay, you look at the Second Amendment. I'm going to actually read it to you directly because I have it right here in my little thing. Constitution of the United States. Thanks, Jerry. My father-in-law gave it to me. This has the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Okay, we're going to flip to, if I can find it quickly. Otherwise, this is going to look really dumb on camera. Me trying to narrate myself finding the amendment. Oh, Article 5, Article 4. Where is the amendments? I wish this had it's only like 20 pages and I can't find it. Here we go. Do. Go for it. I'm finding it. I'm getting there. 8, 5, 4, 2. Here we go. That is the Declaration. That is not the Bill of Rights. I can't find it. Anyway, there we go. I found it. I was looking at the articles, not amendments. Amendment 2. Thank you for bearing with me if you're the one person that watches this. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. Now, if you think that means something to do with the militia, you're an idiot and you don't know how to read. What it means is that in order to keep tyranny away, you need a well-regulated militia. The only way to keep a well-regulated militia against the state is for them to have the right, God-given, to bear arms and keep them. Because if they say, well, you're only allowed to have a gun, or only cops are allowed to have guns, or you can have a gun, but it's antithetical to the Second Amendment and the way it was written. Now, in that case, it goes beyond all technology that can ever be invented. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. Okay? As I tap on my desk, if you can hear that. Shall not be infringed. So what does that mean? That means it doesn't matter what the technology is. They didn't know we were going to have fully automatic rifles. And when Biden gets up on stage, that's the other thing, rolling into organically the ghost gun thing. Biden gets on stage, hey, ghost guns. Hey, holds up what looks like a Glock that's not been 3D printed. If you don't know what a ghost gun is, it's a rhetorical term used to scare you into thinking that there are just a bunch of people making guns and giving them to gang members. Not true. As a matter of fact, they conflate data from all of the places where they have a lot of gun violence, like Pittsburgh, like Baltimore, and they lump in unserialized guns, which just means they can't read the serial number because it's been filed off by a gangbanger, and guns that were manufactured at home for personal use. By the way, if you don't know this, you're allowed to make a gun. You're allowed to buy the parts and make a gun. What this is effectively doing is outlawing parts kits, where you have to machine and manufacture a gun. When they send you what's called an 80% lower, they send you a brick of aluminum or polymer, and you have to drill out the spaces for the trigger, and you have to drill out the space for the magazine, and you have to drill out the space for the safety, and you have to put it together and make it work. And by the way, not easy. The people that buy those and think that they can just use a drill in their garage, not going to work. You have to have a drill press. You have to use lubricant. You have to do all sorts of things. Now, is it easier than a lot of things and cheaper? Yes, it can be cheaper. But what they're saying now is you're not allowed to build a gun in your house and keep it there, or in your vehicle, or in your hotel room, or when you travel, right? Because that's, ghost guns. Do you know how many of those are unserialized and homemade firearms are used in crime? Like less than 1%. It's like a percentage of a percentage nationally. In the places where there is high crime rate, Democrat cities, 100% of them, all of the unserialized guns, they lump that in and say ghost gun. No, they're stolen. And by the way, the vast majority of guns that are used in crime are what? Stolen. Yeah. And they're not stupid either, because the crack, and you know where they get it from? It's not gangbangers roaming the streets getting guns. They actually have some like really cool free market system, trickle down economics. Crackheads who want money for crack break into trucks that have 3%er stickers and that have military stickers and that have, fuck Biden on their license plate. They break into them, rip everything up through the window, and they just look, because if they don't friggin' pull the thing, then the alarm doesn't go off. But even if they break the window, the alarm goes off, they still get what? In a metro Nashville, they get 3 hours to get away, because Nashville Metro is severely understaffed. My wife got her truck broken into, didn't have a gun, stole a bunch of random shit. And guess what? Called the cops and said, well, if you're not in any immediate danger, just do it online and we'll come get you. I have a friend of mine who lives in California. It's actually a friend of my wife's that I've become friends with kind of on the internet. His charity that he runs in downtown LA got broken into several times by people that he is doing charity to. They're the ones breaking in, the crackheads. They're the ones breaking in and stealing from themselves. Why? Because there's a black market for it, right? So these crackheads go and they sell the guns to the gangbangers that they know, so they'll get a little bit of money for crack. They don't give them a lot. They give them a little bit, just enough to keep them coming back. And what do they use those guns for? Drive-bys, murders. They dump them in the Cumberland River, never to be found again, because it's smart. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. For those of you that are old enough to have seen the Godfather, right? That's why, more than ever, you should have a gun on you, period. I know it's uncomfortable to hear. I went to a gun range up here in Montgomery County, up there by Clarksville, and it's an outdoor range. They have a 400-yard range. They have steel targets. They have everything. It's great. One of the greatest outdoor ranges I've ever been to. And there was a guy there, and he's from Russia, and he moved his family here legally, and he was shooting his super duper tricked out AR-15. It had every fucking bell and whistle you could think of, suppressed, tax stamped out. Uber freaking gear freak, right? This dude, I was sitting at the bench next to him, and he's like, I told my mother all the time, you need to have guns. She does not want. She's scared. And I say, I take you to range. I teach you how to shoot. You know why? Because it's your right. You have the right to it. If you have the right and you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And I think the simplicity in what he said rings true. Okay. If you're not comfortable having a gun, I'm not telling you to go get one anyway and shoot your foot off. What I'm saying is, if you are cognitively competent to have a gun, you should have one somewhere in the house, right? Whether you lock it up from your kids, just for self-defense, keep one in your car. If you're not comfortable carrying it every day, make yourself comfortable. Okay. This is the same culture thing shift I've been talking about. If I'm going to wrap this up in a nice little bow, culture shift. You are letting your freedoms go away because you're uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Well, you're uncomfortable with a gun too, right? Well, it's one of the last things you have. It's one of the last rights you have. So you should learn to carry it. A friend of mine recently asked me, hey, you're a firearms instructor. Can you show me how to use a gun? I said, yeah, no problem. And in the comfort of his own home and making sure everything was safe, we went over how it works, what it does. And now he's getting his concealed license. He's talking about getting his armed guard license, which I'm also trying to do as well. Just make a little money on the weekends, you know what I'm saying? But he's challenging his comfort zone, right? Taking into consideration where he lives, which is a super duper pretty safe neighborhood, honestly. But taking into consideration what he didn't have in the state he used to live in. Taking into consideration, all of the bad things in life that could happen. Why wouldn't you? Anytime that there is somebody that is legally armed and a crook pulls out a gun, a gangbanger, crackhead, whatever. I say gangbanger and crackhead interchangeably, honestly, because I have any respect for them. And I believe that they're just kind of subhuman. Personal opinion. Because it's easier to kill them, that's why. So if some guy pulls a gun on you and he's a crackhead and it makes him easier to shoot. That's just the truth. Now, without getting mundane, I have had years and years and years of brainwashing that helps me reconcile that thinking. Now, for somebody that's not comfortable with shooting a gun, that's not comfortable with carrying a gun, you have to ease yourself into it. But I'm very blunt. Guns are meant to kill people. When Biden's sitting up there going, it's not for hunting. The deer was wearing body armor deers. What are you talking about? The Second Amendment doesn't say anything about hunting. It's to kill tyrants like Joe Biden. Oh. Somebody said the truth. Oh, shit. I said the truth part out loud. It's meant to kill tyrants with bullets. It's a mass accelerator. It takes a piece of copper jacketed and it accelerates it to sometimes subsonic speeds, sometimes supersonic speeds. And you put it through the brown housing group of the person that's oppressing you. And guess what? Everything gets better after that. Now, it's not easy. It gets tricky. You have to put your shit on the line. You have to put your treasure and you have to put your blood on the line for your freedom. And that's what our founding fathers did. I know people are like, oh, you're just gaffing off the founding fathers. Dude, they lived in a way worse time than we lived in. Times were hard. They didn't have antibiotics. People were dying left and right. But the one thing that they were willing to die for was freedom. And we've lost that in 200 years. Easily. 247. If you're a Marine. These people were willing to give up their very short and very unprivileged lives for freedom as an idea, as something you can't, and as an intangible. Can you believe it? Imagine not having Wi-Fi for a week. Oh, getting kicked off Facebook. Oh. Losing your job. Oh, no. Guess what? The best job market that's primed. The best primed job market. Because so many people switch sectors. So many people are just still living on the dole. You can go get another job tomorrow at more money than you would have been able to get it 2 years ago. Fact. They send out pizzas. They have fucking job applications on them. That's the truth. Go to get a Papa John's delivered and see if it doesn't have a fucking application on it. Drive for us. Uber. All that other shit. And I know there's a lot of baggage that comes with those things, and those are stories. Those are things you can talk about for another day. How there are pitfalls to that. But dude, the economy is never. They say, oh, it's the best rising economy. Dude, getting jobs back after you told people to go home is not gaining jobs. We're not even back to where we were when Trump was president with jobs. We're not even back to that point yet. Once we pass that metric, then maybe you can start talking about recovery and gaining jobs and jobs numbers. Okay. It is so imperative. And I know I'm getting super kind of real and less jokey as I go. And we're just about to round it out here, 48 minutes. But let me just tie this up all into a bow. Like I said before, it is about freedom and it is about your liberty. But liberty comes with responsibility. Okay. Your self-responsibility. And what does that responsibility entail? It entails virtue. It was made for you to be virtuous. Okay. You got to be a virtuous person in order to enjoy liberty. People say, oh, I'm all for the 100% for the free market. Libertarians. This is why we laugh at them. I'm all for the free market. Really? Are you for child trafficking? Well, no, I'm not going to buy that. Oh, but you're okay with it. Well, no, if there's no demand. Bitch, there's always going to be a demand because people are evil. Because we're fallen. Okay? Because we're dipped in sin. There's nothing you can change about that. Default is evil. You have to work to be good. Okay? You have to work to be virtuous. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not preaching at you. because I'm not. And it's the hardest thing in the world is to stay in the grace of God. It's the hardest thing you could possibly strive to do. But it's the only rewarding thing that you can do, though, in my personal belief. Believe what you want. But the truth is, that's not how I believe. How I believe is you need to be virtuous and responsible in order to enjoy the fruits of liberty. Once you get it and it's slipping out of your hands the whole time, you got to really hold on to it. You got to reach and keep grabbing up on it and holding it down, because the tyranny of evil men is always going to slip, is always going to slip out of your hands. They're always going to be the ones on the other side of that rope pulling to take it out, take it away from you. And when they have the rope completely, guess what? You're falling off the cliff. Metaphors are being mixed. You know what I don't like that's mixed? I don't like my whiskey mixed. Okay. I like it straight. Cheers to you. Thank you for coming to Tavern. If you watched, the 3 people that just tuned in and listened to the awesomest rant on liberty ever, thank you so much for continuing. My name is Tyler Randall. You've been in the Tavern, and catchphrase, Tavern. Catchphrase. And broadcast catchphrase.